Welcome to the CTV Evening News on Calabash TV and on the Wave Radio 94.5. I'm Valentine Dantas in for Lisa Joseph. The Opposition United Workers' Party has accused certain sections of the society for engaging in political mischief. The party has been fending off suggestions that leader Alan Chasney coughed up some $5 million to buy Mico South MP Austin James out of his seat. It is an allegation vehemently denied by Mr. James and the party executive. The latest member to speak on the matter is Nancy Charles. CTV's Lisa Joseph sat down with the UWP's treasurer.
The seat, Austin James deciding, well, of age now, he's not going to go. But I think for most people, the questions lie in why the delay in at least acknowledging that the Mico South seat was of interest to the political leader.
There really was not a delay in the interest in the Mico South seat. Mr. Austin James is the parliamentary representative for Mico South, and as per our constitution, until we begin the process of selecting a candidate, then there is really and truly no vacancy per se in the constituency. Mr. James indicated that he is not going to contest the next election. He is of age and his health, and he has served also. He has served 3 consecutive terms in Mico South. And so at this point in time, the United Workers' Party is in the process of selecting candidate, and so the timing is now that Mr. James has indicated he will not be contesting the next general elections, and so the constituency branch now had the opportunity to find another candidate to represent them. The branch recommended and they requested of Mr. Chasney to be the next candidate. Mr. Chasney has accepted, and that's why we now have that process going on.
One would think that the process probably was very closed off, like no other consideration was given. Can you speak to how the constituency group decided that it would be Alan Chasney?
The process for selecting candidates in every single constituency remains the same for the United Workers' Party. Once there becomes a vacancy in that constituency, or once we begin the process of selecting candidates, every single individual is entitled, once you are a registered paid member of the United Workers' Party, you can send in an application to the constituency branch to indicate your interest in becoming a candidate. For the constituency of Mico South, it was open to anybody to apply and to say or indicate that they were interested in becoming the candidate for Mico South. In the constituency of Babono, if you would recall, we had 2 persons. In the constituency of Ancillary, we had 3 persons. There are some constituencies right now where you only have 1 applicant, and once there is only 1 person applying, or 1 person indicating an interest, or 1 person who's been asked by the branch, the process is 1 person, the branch, whether they acknowledge, accept. If they do, then they forward it now to the National Council for ratification. In the case of Mico South, there was only 1 person that was asked, and they also ensured that anybody else in the constituency who was willing to become a candidate, they were known, and nobody else applied.
How much of a time window did the residents or constituents get for them to respond to that open call?
I am not too sure, but we began the process of selecting candidates from last year, and so from last year we indicated to every single constituency branch that they need to start the process of selecting candidates, interviewing candidates, and ensuring that they put measures in place to select the candidates. So for every single constituency, they had the same amount of time. That would have been from last year. So everybody was on the ball from last year in going through the process of selecting the candidates.
But one would argue that for Mico South, they perhaps would not have been the need to look for a candidate, because Austin James had indicated that he was not giving up the seat. He was not being forced out, pushed out, nor was he considering leaving at that time.
Mr. James, I don't think Mr. James ever said that he will not leave the seat. I think the rumors were all over the place that Mr. James had given of the seat, Mr. James was selling of the seat, Mr. James was doing this, and Mr. James was saying none of this is true. But the last conversation that I had with Mr. James, he reminded me, as a matter of fact, that at a meeting we had very early after the last general election, he had already given notice and said that he was considering not contesting the next general election because he was getting of age. So there would have been ample notice. Mr. James was just ensuring that the rumors that were circulating that he was doing this and he was doing that and he was about to sell off seats and he was about to give up, he was saying, until I have come out and I have made that decision, all these are just rumors.
How do you expect, maybe this is in early days yet, but for all intended purposes, Alan Chasney is named as the candidate. How do you propose to sort of get him to have that electability factor within the community where people can, the constituents of Micoud South can relate and he can relate to them?
Well, here's one thing that you have to be mindful of. It is the constituents of Micoud South who requested Mr. Chasney to become the next candidate.
But that's a very small number.
Not necessarily. These are always, always used the same procedure, the same process, and the core members of the party remains. And so they are the ones who asked Mr. Chasney to represent them. I think, Lisa, what we're trying to do, or the message that we're sending out to St. Lucia, is that you do not want to restrict individuals who are probably thinking of representing their country in politics or being a parliamentary representative. You do not want to restrict them to the constituency of their birth or the constituency where they live. We are saying that if you have something that you can give back to your country, you should be free to be able to represent your country at any level and in any constituency once the constituents wants you. That's the message we're sending out to St. Lucia.
The aspect of the money, that's probably not going to go away anytime soon. So how are you going to reconcile that with the constituents, getting people to believe that Alan Chasney, let's face it, who has deep pockets from his family, did not buy himself into a safe seat, quote unquote, and into the Parliament of St. Lucia?
There is no reconciliation for that, Lisa. As a party and as St. Lucians, I think most St. Lucians recognize this as political mischief by persons who are opposed to the United Workers' Party. There is no truth to that. But not only that, it's a deeper issue, and it is something that is really hitting us at the core, where you have a gentleman as Mr. James, who has served St. Lucia in the Parliament of St. Lucia for the last 13 years thereabout. He's been a parliamentarian for 3 consecutive terms. What we are doing when we make those assumptions and we spread those rumors, we are calling into question the character of Mr. James. Because in actual fact, what we are saying is that Mr. James has accepted a bribe from Alan Chasney. And that is very, very sad, because this is a gentleman that we as a party look up to. He's been a long-standing member of the United Workers' Party. He's been a long-standing parliamentarian. Mr. James' name has not been involved in any sort of scandal or anything. And it is very sad that at this point in time, when he has decided that he has served well and he would like to pass on, that people are now trying to put his name in those kind of rumors. So this is all this is. It's just trying to spoil the reputation of an honorable man.
Alan Chasney's nomination will be forwarded to the party's executive and then on to the National Council for ratification.